What is going on, everybody? Welcome in Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. And Craig, I feel like you and I should have entered today's show and live stream with Ric Flair type music and long sequin robes and just start wooing. Yeah, all from the weekend here. What a great weekend.
It was. Congratulations to you. Congratulations. And thank you guys to everybody and girls who have been watching our live streams here on Wager Alarm over the last couple of years because, certainly when it comes to wagering, it's so hard. Predictions are so hard in both the NFL and in college football. But what we did all last year was really remarkable in our first year in the Westgate Super Contest, finishing as high as we did. And we did not win money, but we finished extremely high for a first year. And before the season, Howard and I talked about it, and we discussed not only just joining the Super Contest, but also joining the Golden Nugget football contest this season. And the reason why is because we had such good success just giving out picks for college football last year, too. And so when the season came along, I know Howard feels this way, and I do too, is that I have a lot of respect for people who do this and for people who handicap, especially a lot of the professionals. And there are so many people who do a much better job than we do out there for sure. But it's really important for us to have some stake in the game when we do these live streams, because just simply throwing out picks doesn't really move the needle for me. It never has. Like I like analysis, but to know that people that are hosting a video stream or in a live stream have their own wallet involved in this, and Howard and I do. We split the cost of the Golden Nugget contest at the beginning of the season, which is 7 games against the spread in both college and pro football. And fortunately for us, last week we went 7-0. We went 7-0.
I'm sorry, say that one more
last
time.
Week. Yeah, that was amazing. That was amazing. 7-0. And I've been in the Super Contest now. This is my third year doing it, I believe. And I've had some 5-0s. I've never had a 7-0 like I had with you, Howard, in this one. So super proud of what we were able to accomplish. And for you loyal people who have watched us, certainly betting on 7 games in a day isn't really advisable. And what we always try to do is at least tier some of the picks so you can understand which ones we like more than others. We've talked about that success rate. But there's no doubt that if you guys have been watching this, if you're winning 7 games and winning every game on the card that you pick, you're doing something right. So very rare that we start off with like super patting ourselves on the back, and we didn't do that all last year, but we got to do it today. It was really the best week we've had so far. So congratulations to you.
Congratulations to you as well. We could just do that back and forth the entire live stream. Thank you very much. No, after you, sir. No, after you. No, listen, you know what? It was great because, listen, I think our conversations, and we do this here on the live stream, and we go and we handle the picks and we talk about certain things. But I like the back and forth that you and I have even before we jump on the live stream, and we really go through a number of these picks, ask a number of questions. Even when we were sitting there and we were talking privately about some of our picks, our producer Matt Sells, who's very in tune with K-State, and we talked about whether or not we were going to use K-State. I got his opinion on that, and then made that decision, with you to say, you know what, yes, let's definitely dive into this. When I was asking about Air Force, I mean, that was another one. I had to come to you and say, well, here are my thoughts on it.
Sure.
And I think, listen, the work that we do, the back and forth, I think that's great. Well, we present to you here on the live stream, that's more of the finished product, but at least you understand that there's a process that Craig and I go through, from looking at all the lines, narrowing down the games that we want, and then picking the games that we think, whether the spread is standing out to us, whether we know some information as far as the what's going on in the games. Like, for example, Oklahoma State minus 14, T. Boone Pickens. And, we
found a little narrative there. It worked out.
Yeah. And that's kind of what you need to do in certain
you have
cases.
to.
That narratives do play out and they do work. So
yeah, they work out in terms of the spread, and also understand that game in particular, Oklahoma State, we'll got to give you all the picks. But Howard brings up a good point, because the first pick that I think I sent you before the week even started, it may have been on Wednesday, was, I think I texted you, how in the world is BYU getting 4.5 points with USC after their starting quarterback is out and their backup is playing after one game. Like why is BYU that bad that they're getting 4.5 against USC? And you're like, well, who's the backup quarterback? I'm like, I got to look into this. I don't know. So, I mean, that's truthfully how it happened. It was Keaton Slovis, obviously. But again, USC plays in overtime. They score a touchdown against BYU. We lose that game. Oklahoma State doesn't run up the score at the end of the game and just, kind of, give it a little bit more to their boosters. Trust me, the boosters pay attention to the spread too, okay? The guys who spend the most money, who went to those universities, they want to see their teams cover the spread when they have a chance too. I know it doesn't go into the factor with the coaches, but they are aware of that. And the games could go either way. But as we talk about a lot with college and also with pro, if your handicap is going into the last couple minutes of the game and you're right there to win or lose, where one bounce one way or the other can cost it for you, but it could also get you a win, that's exactly where you want to be. What we don't want to have are games where we take a team and they lose 41-0. Those are the kind of ones where we come on the live stream and we say, hey, totally wrong. Bad pick. That's on us. Forget it. And we're going to have some weeks this season where we'll go 4-3 or 3-4. We'll look back at 2 of the games and go, man, like if this didn't happen at the end, or if this guy didn't throw an interception, or if this guy didn't fumble. But you're on the right track if you're close at the end, and you have to understand that this is a game. Mistakes are going to be made on one way or the other. Turnovers are going to happen. You just want to be in the last couple of minutes with a chance to cover, not to win these games, to cover the spread in the last couple of minutes of the game. As long as you're there, you're on the right track. So if you want to go through real quick the games last week, we mentioned BYU. BYU against USC was one of our wins. They went to overtime. Very exciting. Probably the best college game of the day. Very, very exciting. As USC's backup quarterback, Keaton Slovis, not nearly as good as he was against Stanford. By the way, funny how Stanford went to Central Florida and got waxed also. So that is really more of an indictment now on USC, on Southern California. I mean, really, they beat a bad Stanford team. They lost to BYU. I don't know which direction they're going. So we had BYU. We had Oklahoma State, as Howard mentioned, against Tulsa on the road, laying 14. They covered in the fourth quarter. UCF, Central Florida, that wasn't even a question. We talked about Kansas State having their new head coach and the way that the team was feeling about that. They rocked Mississippi State. Like, wow, going into an SEC school like in Starkville, Mississippi State, and winning, that was probably the most impressive one of all. And we got to keep a close eye on Kansas State the rest of the season for sure. They may be a team on the rise. So what am I missing here as far as the
Air Force against Colorado?
Air Force, right. Air Force was losing. I looked up and then they're winning. I'm like, yes. Like I'm looking on, I'm like, oh great, they're losing already. And then they were losing like 10-0. They came back all the way and they beat Colorado. Obviously, that was a great handicap. Colorado's not very good. They didn't deserve to be favorites in that one. Air Force wins outright, and then
our 2 pro games.
Okay, so that's 5, and then the 2 pro games were
Falcons plus 1.5.
Yeah, and the Browns. Let's be honest, the Browns, we got that kind of that free roll with them laying 2.5. That was easy. That was really easy. But I will say this: of all the games, and it was a lot closer than I thought. But even looking back on it, that was the wrong line. Atlanta should not have been getting points on Sunday night against Philadelphia. That didn't make any sense. And Atlanta, by the way, they almost gave the game away. Like, I don't know what Matt Ryan was doing. Atlanta should have easily won that game. It shouldn't have even been a question. They were up 17-6 going in for 24-6. And we could have just slept through that. But, of course, it's the Falcons. They gotta make it close. They got to try and give the game away. If it's the Super Bowl, if it's the playoffs, Falcons just – like, and I kind of like them a little bit this week, honestly, but every time you take them, you got to know it's coming down to the fourth quarter. They're going to blow something. Someone's going to fumble. They're going to give up. I mean, they give up that pass to Aguilar. He's wide open on 4th and 20 to catch that. It's the Falcons and the Raiders are 2 really hard teams to take because they're so Jekyll and Hyde. But yes, that capped off our 7-0 week last week, and then we went 3-2 in the Super
3-2 in the Super Contest. We had the Falcons and the Browns. We doubled up on those.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, well, our day didn't start off great on Sunday.
No, it did not. No, our one of our first big duds, I think,
the Bengals.
Yeah, we'll never take them again. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And listen, but see, that's the thing though, is that you have to be able to take away from a loss like that and learn. Because I'm not buying it. Now that I've looked at San Francisco, Okay, and San Francisco whooped ass on the Bengals, like crushed them, destroyed them.
Yeah.
But if you looked at them against Tampa Bay, they didn't look that great, and the only reason the score was what it was because they had 2 pick sixes. So you take 14 points off of there. So now, funny enough, you're gonna laugh at me, but one of the games that I'm kind of leaning on.
You want to go back against the Niners?
I want to go against the Niners with the Steelers, getting 6.5 points. No Big Ben.
You want to take the Steelers in that one? Wow, we'll get. Wow,
because I think that the Bay Area 49ers just their offense is not strong. Their defense.
They ran really well against the Bengals.
They did. But you know what? I could have run on the Bengals. And
Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and Breida
Chris Carson tore up Cincinnati in week 1. The 49ers tore them apart. Who are the Bengals playing this week? They're playing. Oh, this is going to be a good one. I'm going to love this.
Buffalo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's going to rush for 100 yards on them alone.
Yeah, you're just salty on Cincinnati, so it's okay. It's fine.
I am definitely salty.
You're just very salty on Cincinnati.
So salty on Cincinnati.
All right, so we lost that one. It was a disaster. What was the other one that we lost?
I don't remember. What was the other one that we lost? Let me go to I'll find the ticket right here. It's right here at wageralarm.com. You can see all the tickets. Steelers -4. Well, we lost Big Ben.
Right. We had no shot. Once he went down, that was it. Of course, you want to go. You want to go back to that well? I don't know.
I do want to go back to that well.
That was. Listen, that was a game that I think that if Big Ben plays, they cover, but we'll never really know. But you got to take your loss. It's the same thing. If you took the Saints, you take your loss. The quarterback got hurt. That's part of it. So we start off 0-2, and then we rally for 3 wins late. One of the epic finishes in the NFL in that Broncos Bears game. Wow, how wild was that finish there? The second that, Denver looked so bad the whole game. It played out exactly the way that the public would want it to, which the Bears go in there, they start smacking down. Howard's watching the game going, why did we take the Broncos? How could we ever take the Broncos? And then what happens? Fourth quarter, you look it up. Wait, Broncos are 17-1 at home over the last. Oh, wait, do guys get tired? Oh, yes, they do. All of a sudden, Khalil Mack's like, can't breathe. They take him out of the game. They take their other Floyd out of him. He can't breathe. All the defense is out of the game. Flacco goes right down the field 2 different times at the end of the game. He didn't have one drive the whole game. Drives twice down the field at the end of the game. The first time he becomes Joe Flacco, throws an interception. Second time they drive back down. They score the touchdown. They line up for 2, and I'm like, we win. We win. That's it. Don't get the 2. We're getting +2.5, and that's it. I'm like, we win. And then what happens? Penalty. So then they don't go for 2. Then they back them up to kick the extra point. McManus misses the extra point. We win. Oh, no, penalty. Penalty again. Oh, we're going for 2 again. Then they get the 2. I'm like, we win again. Wait, maybe not. Hold on a second. Bears guy. I could do a whole 30 minutes on that game alone, but the bottom line is we were getting 2.5 points, and this is a lesson for everyone moving forward with the Denver Broncos. It doesn't matter who they have, doesn't matter how good they are, doesn't matter how bad they are. The first 2 games of their season, every year, they're now 18-1, 18-1 at home in that field. Why? Because the altitude is a tough thing for other teams to get used to, and teams crumble there in the fourth quarter. Are the Broncos a good football team? No. Will they win 8 games? In all likelihood, not. But it is one of the biggest home field's advantages early on in the season, and it was such an ugly-looking pick. But those ugly picks win. They win a lot. They always do.
Well, again, if we didn't have that half point in there also, that would have been – because the line actually went down to 2. So it ended up when Chicago kicked that field goal, it ended up being a push. For everybody else, we take the win here on that half point.
Well, you bet you're getting an extra point on there. You bet an extra half, an extra full point. You buy a point, you get it to 3.
Yeah,
you get +3 if you did it online. And then Sunday night the Falcons, and then Monday night, the Browns was easy. So 3-2 in the Super Contest is not all that impressive this week because everybody had the Browns anyway. To be honest with you guys, if you take a look at the Super Contest standings, everybody did really well because the consensus top pick was the Browns, and when that wins, you got to go 4-1 or 5-0 to really have a great week. And we went 3-2. So overall 7-0 and 3-2. And I guess that closes the book on our magical week last week.
It was magical. We're 11-3 in the Golden Nugget. We're in 4th place. Hello. There it is. Better be.
We're already planning on what we're going to buy at the end of the year.
Easily. I'm just making it rain, baby. Let's talk about some of the lines that we're looking at right now, and also you wanted to revisit some early Heisman Trophy odds. Also, so
yeah,
let's talk.
I think it's interesting.
First.
Okay, you want to do lines first? Okay,
let's do lines first. I'd rather do the lines because that's getting me all juiced up. Look at that. I'm in my Army shirt.
Oh, we'll go for Army. Army plus, was good again.
They're minus 45 over Morgan State.
So all right, we're not going to bet that game.
A bit of a big spread there.
We're not betting that game. Okay, so the first time in college football in 2 years last week that there was no top 22 teams in the top 25 playing each other. This week we have 3 games. Early on Saturday, Michigan will be at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is laying 3.5 points, which seems probably about right. Michigan feels a little bit overrated, and we don't really know how good Wisconsin is, so there's really just no advantage in the game whatsoever. Auburn will be at Texas A&M. Auburn is going to be missing their left tackle, which is a really big deal because their offensive line has been so good protecting their freshman quarterback, Bo Nix. They're going to move their right tackle to left tackle. So this could be a factor in that. Texas A&M clearly under Jimbo Fisher is playing much better, and they are 4-point favorites in this game. And then the final game that would seem shocking to some people, and there are going to be a lot of people that are going to ride Notre Dame in the points, but Georgia is minus 13.5 against Notre Dame in the primetime game, which will be the biggest game of the weekend on Saturday night. And everyone is like, oh, how can Notre Dame be such a big underdog? Remember, going back, we took Notre Dame, I believe, against Clemson in the Final Four when we got to that point last year in the playoffs, and Clemson annihilated them. And now we had Clemson beating Alabama in the championship. We did take that, but I think we may have taken Notre Dame and the points in our bowl package. This is why, Howard. There is no trust whatsoever in Notre Dame.
Did you see what Georgia did this past week?
Yeah. Georgia's the 3rd best team in the country for sure.
It was Arkansas State, and I saw it, and then it was like Georgia minus 34 was the spread. And I was like, whatever. Let me just check in on this game, and I checked in on that game. And at that point, it was like 55-0 Georgia.
Georgia's
that point,
really good.
There was still plenty of time to go.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the case that Alabama, Georgia, and LSU, 3 of the top 5 teams in the country, are all in the SEC this year. It could be a really strong year for the SEC, and Florida, of course, in the top 10 also with a lucky win over Kentucky. They sneaked that one in last week. Glad we didn't end up taking them. Kentucky was definitely the right pick there.
That's right. I did. I think I said something about Kentucky.
Yeah, no, we're not taking the Gators.
We're not touching this. Oh, that's right. Why are we taking the Gators?
We were. The Gators are really good at winning and not good at covering lately. Also, just another interesting. We talked so much at the beginning of the season about Josh Herbert, the quarterback of the Oregon Ducks, a very important position in college football. Not so much in the NFL. They don't value it as much because there's so many coaches and so many coordinators who are calling the plays. But a lot of times the centers in college football are calling out the offensive alignment and the movement and calling out the defensive alignment of the other teams. And when a center is hurt, it really affects a college football team. And Oregon center may not play this week. Now, he's questionable. We'll have to see. But that's a team that has 5 seniors playing on the offensive line. Of course, they lost to Auburn in the opening night of the week. They looked okay since then. The Ducks are minus 10.5 at Stanford. Stanford now, Howard, is getting zero respect after losing to USC, after getting throttled by UCF. This just looks like a rare down year for the Stanford Cardinals. So those were the early lines, at least, that I was looking at in the top 25. And then, obviously, by the time that we get to Friday, we'll give you all the picks that we have in college for the week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any games you want to touch on here other than that?
No, I had sent you a list. I don't even remember where I put that.
Yeah, I have it. A couple questions you wanted to go through. Why is Arizona State only a 7-point favorite over Colorado? Because Arizona State was very good, Howard, the last 2 years at beating Michigan State, but not really great at a lot of other things. That, for whatever reason, Herm Edwards has beaten Michigan State now twice. So, there's not going to be a huge overreaction to that. I think the odds makers understand that. And Colorado, by the way, is not very good, But again, this is not a very high-scoring team in the Aztecs. It could end up being a close game. Perhaps that's why the line is 7. Oklahoma State plays Texas. They will get up for that game. This is a monster game on the schedule. I probably like Oklahoma State a little bit in this one. I'm still not a huge believer in Texas. And UCF, you could just keep taking them, and they seem to cover every week. I mean, if you've taken UCF against the spread the last 3 years in every single game, you're hitting like almost 70%.
Yeah, I was looking at that one. I mean, Pitt coming through. I mean, Pitt was like a horror show this past week. They ended up getting destroyed. And UCF, I mean, -10. And then come on, your Gators against Tennessee. Come on.
Yeah, well, they have a new quarterback this week. And it's their freshman or redshirt sophomore Trask is their quarterback because Felipe Franks, their starter's out for the year. He looked pretty good. The Gators will beat Tennessee, Howard, but that seems like a lot of points to me, at least initially.
All right. Well, we will definitely get back to those, no doubt about it. Let's talk about some of these Heisman Trophy lines that you're looking at here. Now, obviously, the Miami Dolphins are all in on Tua.
You think so?
They've completely decimated their team, and
you've been watching football as long as I have. I don't ever remember a team doing this before.
This early, just throwing everything away? No.
Oh yeah, I've never seen this before. In fact, before the season, I was fortunate enough to get down on the Dolphins season win total, a significant bet on the Dolphins season win total. And I'm in with a partner on it, and I don't know how he got it at 5. He got the line at 5. It was 4.5 everywhere, and then he's like, "I can get it at 5 minus 160." I'm like, "Man, a win total. We gotta try that. Give me that extra win for a push for a 5." Right now, they're doing some adjusted lines where you could bet it, but the prediction right now, at least from a line perspective, is the Dolphins season win total is 1.5.
Yeah, that's just debating whether or not they beat the Jets the second time.
They play Cincinnati.
Oh.
They play Cincinnati. That's the circle game right there. They play Washington too. They play the Giants. They could win 2 games. They're not winning 5.
I was just gonna say, I wish I had that 5 line. My Lord!
I know, what a juicy line that was. 4.5 was awesome.
Hey, thanks for cutting me in on that one there, Craig.
Appreciate
that one.
That was a very big bet for me. Okay, so why did I want to bring up the Heisman Trophy odds? Well, last year, this is going to be hard to believe, but before we go through these, I've said this a million times. This is why the Heisman sometimes can provide you some good odds, because this is not like voting for the MVP where they're looking at advanced metrics. This is just a bunch of guys voting on who's the best player in college. And look, some of this could be a little bit of a popularity contest for sure. There's always some value there.
Right.
Kyler Murray was not the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy until October. So we would be sitting here a year ago, last year, Kyler Murray was not the favorite. He was I think he was 25-1 even at this point last year. So I just kind of wanted to roll through some of the possible names, and this could slide a lot up and down. Now, obviously, Tua Tagovailoa is among the favorites. He's at 5-1, but he opened up as the clear favorite, and he's fallen back a little bit because Joe Burrow, the quarterback of LSU, has had such a good start to his season. So right now it's Burrow, Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts, the quarterback from Oklahoma. They're all 5-1 right now to win the Heisman Trophy. Trevor Lawrence is 7-1, which seems to be some nice value there. He hasn't gotten off to a great start statistically for Clemson so far this season. They've just been running the ball a lot. Jake Fromm from Georgia is 10-1. Justin Fields of Ohio State also 10-1. Jonathan Taylor, the running back from Wisconsin, is 16-1. But as Howard and I illustrated, it's almost always a quarterback winning the Heisman Trophy. Yeah. So even with that looking, kind of juicy to get, because Taylor's probably the best running back in college, he is 16-1. DeAndre Swift is 25-1. Herbert, the quarterback from Oregon, 25-1. Erlinger has no shot to win the Heisman. His stats won't be there, but he's on the board at 25-1. And then Travis Etienne, the running back at Clemson, is 25-1. So just from a value point of view, guys like Justin Fields from Ohio State, remember, if Georgia was to slip up and lose a game, if Oklahoma was to slip up and lose a game, remember, Burrow from LSU is going to play against Tagovailoa in a few weeks. So between LSU and Alabama, one of those quarterbacks ain't going to look good. And it's going to end up costing them the Heisman. So, there's just a couple of different options. I would take a look at that. These are FanDuel's odds, by the way. So you have to be obviously in West Virginia or New Jersey or wherever, you can bet legally on FanDuel there. But, all the offshore sites have it too.
All right. Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Any value there in Justin Herbert? Let's say he overcomes the center being out.
I don't know. There's so many other quarterbacks that are ahead of him. Burrow was the one that you could have gotten at 25 to 1 at the beginning of the season. He's jumped all the way up to being the favorite. I think that LSU would have to beat Alabama for that to happen, but that may not be a bad way to go about it. As an example, let's say you have $100. Let's say you take $100. You take 100 and you put it on Burrow and you get 5 to 1. So it's 100 to win 500. Then when Alabama plays against LSU, maybe you bet a little bit on Alabama just to hedge your bets a little bit.
If Alabama, the master of the hedge, my friend,
loving hedges, and then at that case, LSU won. Burrow would immediately become 2 to 1 favorites if LSU beats out. He'd be the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy if that ends up happening. So that could be something that I would do. But for Dabo Swinney, it looks like for Trevor Lawrence, they'll unleash him later in the year, Howard. It looks like they're being really careful with this kid. They're just handing the ball off. They're not putting him in any trouble. When they're up big, they're just running the ball. It's really smart the way that they're handling him, because remember, for Dabo Swinney, this is not like Tua. Tua's going to be in the NFL next year. People forget Trevor Lawrence is going to be back at Clemson again next year too. So Why put him in any kind of harm's way when you know that you got him for another 20 games going into next year?
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine the three-peat of the national championship at Clemson?
Could easily happen. Easily happen.
It could. I'd like to see the odds on that one.
Yeah, I think, and Miami is the kind of franchise in the NFL that's not going to tank for 2 years. That's just It's just not possible. This is not like being a fledgling franchise in the NFL. Like, I don't want to throw any franchise under the bus, but like the Colts could get away with doing that. Jacksonville could get away with doing that. Yeah, we're going to take a couple years off to get Trevor Lawrence, Miami can't. That's the Dolphins, You can't do that here in South Florida. You can't. But you could do a year, not 2. So Trevor Lawrence is out of the picture, I think, for Miami. But in 2 years, there's going to be some really lucky team that's going to get a hold of this guy. I think he's better than anyone that's come out in a long time. I think he's just going to be a star in the NFL, Howard, for a really, really long time.
All right. Well, we'll definitely have to wait and see on that one. That's going to do it for us here today. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Guys and girls, thanks for tuning in here.
Wait, before we go, we got to do one other thing.
What's that?
We are not going to be here on Thursday. So do you want to give any opinion on the Thursday night NFL game?
We're not going to be here on Thursday. Thursday night, oh my God!
Do you want to
see Jacksonville?
Yeah, like it's the worst possible game.
It's a hard
every year.
Game. Yeah. All right. I'll tell you what.
Any clue at all on this one? We're not going to pick it. Let's be clear. We are not going to pick this game.
Not picking this game at all.
And we are not picking this game in the Golden Nugget contest either. Okay.
No. 100% not picking it.
Feel free to handicap this game.
My lean is Titans. Take the points.
Lay the points.
Lay the points. I mean, okay. Sorry. 1.5. Yeah. It's 1.5. It's not a huge line there.
Not a lot.
I'll take the Titans because Jacksonville's in a little bit of disarray. This whole talk with Jalen Ramsey and the defense now and the trading and that to me, I'm leaning Tennessee, laying 1.5. I'm taking the under on 40 points here. I think this one is as boring a snooze fest as last night's Browns-Jets game.
It could be. And by the way, normally we'll start to go through some of the NFL games, but let's be honest, a lot of these lines, some of them just came out today. You have 6 different games affecting quarterbacks in the NFL this week. So when the Super Contest lines come out tomorrow, that'll give us a much better idea as to where to go. The Las Vegas and these places, they have lines now on all the games. But in my history of even following point spreads, I've never kind of dealt with a situation like this where you have a minimum right now, at least of 4 quarterback changes this week, right? Am I right? 4 quarterback changes?
Saints going to Bridgewater.
Right.
Steelers going to Mason Rudolph. Giants going to Daniel Jones.
And Carolina?
And Carolina could be going to, Kyle Allen.
Yeah, so because of that, it's probably best that we revisit this Friday night
Yeah, well, I mean,
and come back and get a better hold on exactly what's happening here. There's really no early bet that I would see on the board that I would recommend at this point. So
when was the last time? When was the last time you saw an NFL week line where you had 2 games with a 20-point spread or more?
Never. Never. Yeah, Patriots are bigger favorites than Dallas. Wow, yeah. Patriots are minus 23 against the Jets, and the Cowboys are minus 21 against the Dolphins.
It's a horror show.
We're gonna have to find some gems this week.
I told you, Pittsburgh on the road.
There's huge lines this week across the board. Packers minus 8, Bills minus 6, Chiefs minus 7, Eagles minus 7. It feels like it could feel like a favorite week.
Tampa Bay laying 6.5 points to the Giants.
Yeah, they lose outright. All right, that's it. Just wanted to get that.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Big thanks to our producer Matt Sells. Big thanks to everybody for watching. You definitely don't want to miss the Wager Alarm live stream this Friday night. Craig and I, we're gonna bang it all up again. We're coming in hot and hard and heavy. Yeah, I know, right? All that for week 3. Can't wait.
Hot, hard, heavy. Got it.
Right. There you go. Oh, I might have to start doing some ED medication reads here on the show here. Oh, by the way, let's shout out to our sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight.
Oh, forgot about that.
If you guys are into doing prop bets, all right, Monkey Knife Fight. That's the site to go. That's the site to use. They've got in-game prop bets. They've got pre-game prop bets. You can lay it all down there. Monkey Knife Fight. That's where you want to go. Go to fantasyalarm.com/monkey. And it'll take care of you. You'll actually get like a little bonus deposit there, courtesy of Monkey Knife Fight and Wager Alarm and Fantasy Alarm. So that's going to do it for us today. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender, and we'll catch you next time.